Attain the best possible by seeking the impossible. In this episode, I'm going to address the power of possibility thinking. Get ready, because this has helped many people attempt things that otherwise they would never attempt, and they would not have achieved what they did achieve. Hi, my name's Doug Andrew, and I've actually enjoyed a wonderful career for more than 47 and a half years helping people optimize not just their financial assets, but helping them balance their life. And I've helped many people, whether they're business owners or my wife and I mentor troubled youth. I'm on a board of directors for teenage suicide prevention. And so no matter what stage in life you are, successful, or maybe you're depressed or feeling down, I love teaching the concept of being a possibility thinker. In fact, my wife and I are parents of 6 children and 20 grandchildren we have right now. And our favorite event every year is our annual Grandpa's Camp. This is where our grandchildren come. First of all, the 12-year-olds and older come for the first 4 days, and we talk teenage talk. And we teach them how to be possibility thinkers. This was our theme just 2 years ago, and how to be responsible and accountable. Then the 8-year-olds come and join them, and they hang out with Grandpa, and we teach additional lessons. And also the 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds come and join Grandma. We combine them all together. It's the most incredible week. Finally, the parents are allowed to come on the 7th day, and we all stay at Grandpa's Camp. There's over 30 of us there. It's one of the most incredible weeks of the year, and I love it because our grandkids look forward to it every single year. Our theme was Be a Possibility Thinker 2 years ago. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that I taught our grandchildren, which are the same lessons and concepts that I've taught troubled youth in suicide centers, and also entrepreneurs who are in charge of multi-million-dollar corporations. So let me start out by sharing a quote from Dr. Robert Schuller. I'll never forget the day when I heard Dr. Schuller share this in a positive mental attitude rally that I attended years ago. He said, "What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?" Now, he may have been quoting somebody else, but I attribute the quote to him because it inspired me. Golly, if I knew that I could not fail, I would attempt to do lots of things. But fear of failure often is what prevents people from even starting out on some venture. And so there's a lot of stories that we can share about people who have been possibility thinkers. One of my favorite motivational speakers for years, he's now passed away, Zig Ziglar, okay? Now, I knew Zig personally. His first name was not Zig. When I first asked him, "Is your first name really Zig?" Because all of his books were Zig Ziglar. And he pulled down his glasses, his bifocals, and he goes, "My good mama named me Marion." Now, if your name was Marion when I was a kid, would you go by Zig or Marion? Yeah, I went by Zig. I'll never forget that. Zig Ziglar would talk about the difference between a big shot and a little shot. And he would say, the only difference between a big shot and a little shot is a big shot is just a little shot that kept shooting. Okay? And so he would talk about the little bit of difference, and he would use the metaphor of $1 million racehorse versus a $10,000 racehorse at the time. And he would use the example of the Arlington Futurity, a race which is 1 1/8 miles long. That's 72,000 inches. And he would say, you know, the $1 million racehorse crosses the finish line sometimes 1 head length ahead of the 4th place horse that used to only get a check for $25. Why is the $1 million racehorse worth 100 times more? It's not 100 times faster. How much faster is it than the 4th place horse? 1 head length, okay? 1/3000th faster. Sometimes it's 1 nose length, the winning horse versus the 2nd place horse. 1/72 thousandths faster. It's the little bit of difference that makes the $1 million racehorse worth 100 times more. That's very true of possibility thinkers. So not only Zig Ziglar, but there's people like Gene Kranz, who was with Apollo 13, was it? That when they got into trouble, he basically said failure is not an option. See, when you begin to realize that failure is not an option, you begin to get creative with your thinking. You become a possibility thinker. You look at your resources, duct tape and Mylar and everything else they did to get home safely when they were in trouble out there in space. So again, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail, or you began to realize that failure is not an option? I love to talk about Thomas Edison with my kids and grandkids. Here's why. Now, before I share with you why I love the story of Thomas Edison, if this is intriguing you, be sure and share this video. Click like, post a comment, subscribe. Do that. It's free on Three-Dimensional Wealth, this channel. I post videos like this almost on a daily basis. Be sure and click the little bell, because then you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. And at the end, I want to gift you a free copy of my most recent best-selling book, The 10 Keys Transformation, where I talk about concepts like this. So Thomas Edison. Now, most people realize that he is most famous for inventing what? The incandescent light, okay? Now, do you know that he had attempted over 10,000 times to invent the electric light bulb? And he had a young reporter that came up to him at that time and said, "Mr. Edison, how does that feel, having failed 10,000 times?" Do you know what Edison said to the reporter? He goes, "You know, you're young. You haven't learned this yet, but I haven't failed 10,000 times. I've successfully found 10,000 ways that don't work." It's all in how you look at it. Do you know he made 6,000 more attempts before he finally was successful in inventing the incandescent light? Now, he didn't do it all by himself. It took a team, okay? But that's what he's famous for. And look at what happened with electricity. Now we have LED lights. But he was able to try. He kept getting up and trying again. I don't think it's the greatest invention, frankly. He actually figured out how to communicate 2,700 miles from San Francisco to New York in less than 7 seconds. When to buy, when to sell, using two symbols, a dot or a dash, the Morse code, the telegraph. But when you think about it, it was more than just dots and dashes. That was the precursor to digital technology. Is it on or is it off? Okay? LEDs, TVs, scoreboards when I was in high school, or my first calculators. They had what? They had 7 LED lights, okay? And then the 8-bit, these are 8 bits make up 1 byte of information. A letter or a number, whether this bar was on, this light was on, it was a 1 if these two are on. Now it's a 7, now it's a 9, now it's an 8. They're all lit up. But it's all simply down to, is that on or off? How does it come across to the human eye? This is digital technology. What does this mean? The difference in being a possibility thinker is simply how you look at things. Are you on? Are you off? Do you brighten a room when you enter it or when you leave it? In a group of people, are you a fountain? Okay? Are you a drain that sucks energy out of the room because you're always talking about what's going wrong in your life? Do you look at the possibilities, or do you make up excuses or criticize, oh, that'll never work? Because if that's your attitude, you will never be a possibility thinker. Are you on board or off board? Is there a higher power up there that you could draw from that is looking down saying, come on, I'm trying to inspire you. Are you with me or against me? You've got to have some faith. But faith without works is dead, okay? We read about this in the Bible. So when we connect all the dots here, it's talking about being a possibility thinker. What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? But you attain the best possible by seeking the impossible. So here's how many times I help these suicidal teenagers feel like they can accomplish what they think is impossible. You ready? So many times when I share a few stories like this, I will give these young teens, or I do this with adults, okay, business owners, a little Ziploc baggie. And inside that Ziploc baggie, I have a block of wood with a little hole in the center, and I have 16 penny nails in there, okay, 16 nails. And they take out one of those nails and they put it upright in the block of wood. And I challenge them. I want you to take the other 15 nails and balance them all on top of that one single nail. They can't touch anything else. They must reside all on top of one nail. You can't use rubber bands. You can't tip it over. It's very possible. In fact, I tell them I can do it in less than 30 seconds. Now, if they trust me, they know that I'm telling the truth. But they look at this pile of nails like this image that I'm going to put up right now. So here they have these nails. They have this one sticking up in a block of wood, and they sit there and they study it. They start to pick up the nails and try to get one or two to balance, and sometimes they just give up and they go, that's impossible. It's impossible. You can't believe how many times I've heard them say, that's impossible. Well, yeah, if you think it's impossible, it isn't impossible, okay? Whether you think you can or can't, you're right. But it is very possible. So I let them struggle sometimes for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. And as they do this, I'll do this in restaurants with adults. And they'll fiddle around. Sometimes people have tried this, but they forgot how to do it. So I'll give them a hint. I'll put my hands up like this. And they go, that's a hint? And then I'll say, together we're better. Together we're better. And they think about it and they think about it. And then they start to play with the nails and start to have the nails work together so that in harmony, one with another, they can hold one another up and balance. Now, it takes usually another 10 or 15 minutes before they figure it out, but sometimes they want to give up, and then they'll watch me because they go, you said you could do this in 30 seconds. So then look at this next image. I lay the one nail on the table and I alternate the nails with the heads over that nail. And I go bam, 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 bam. Takes me about 8 to 12 seconds to do that. And I have one nail left, okay? The 16th nail, and I put it across the top the other direction, and it holds those nails together so that with the heads they cannot fall through. I simply slide it off the end of the table, pick it up, and all the nails come down like a little roof, all together like this. And I set it on top of the center nail, and it balances. And they go, oh my heavens. Now, if they figured it out, I give them a high five. If they didn't, but they saw me do it, like this image that I'm going to show you right now, then they go, this is possible. They saw me do it in 30 seconds, and then they all want to try it and do it. These teenagers who thought they could not achieve anything, they jump up and down. They go, I did it! I give them a high five. You cannot believe the staff, their counselors in these suicide centers say, we've been trying for 3 weeks to get them to have some self-esteem that they can do something. You accomplished it in less than 30 minutes with some nails and a block of wood. Yep. See, when you show people that you can attain the best possible by seeking what looks like is impossible, you empower them. You start with the simple. When we did this at Grandpa's camp, my grandkids were thrilled. And now, every time we have a project or an issue, they all go, Grandpa, we're going to figure out how we can actually achieve this. It is possible. And they know they can do whatever they set their mind to do with persistence. This is one of my favorite lessons that we teach. So let me show you how you can learn about this and other concepts in a book I want to gift you. So my most recent best-selling book was just released about a week ago from the recording of this episode. And it's actually addressed to business owners, entrepreneurs, but we're all involved in the busyness of life, whether you're a father, mother, a husband or wife, or a business owner. You have customers, you have clients. If you're a parent, those are your children and grandchildren. And so this is called the 10 Keys Transformation. How to exponentially elevate your career, profits, and customer engagement. When you're a parent, who are your customers? Your kids and grandkids. You want them to come to you instead of their peers for the real important questions in life. Are you getting it? And you can simplify your life and do this in less than 60 months. So if you go to free10keysbook.com, you contribute a nominal amount towards the processing, and I'll send out this full color digital book. And there's also options there to get the audio book. It's in my voice, and you can listen and learn. There's even a 10 Keys Masterclass where I do a deep dive on every one of the 10 keys for an average of 90 minutes. And it has helped many, many people take their thinking to a whole new level, and they have become possibility thinkers. So go to 10keysbook.com, claim your free copy. Here's to your brighter future.